Oh my gosh, Savannah, you're excited to present. You don't understand how pumped I am to have you here. So everybody, Savannah is someone that I deeply respect, literally from the bottom of my heart. She's the founder of the Social Savannah, one of North America's top 5 TikTok creative exchange partners, creating top performing ads for brands like Fabletics, Athletic Greens, and Dr. Squatch, just to name a couple of them. So when she's talking, y'all better listen because it comes from the best of the best at the end of the day. So Savannah, I'm gonna step out. You're gonna step in and do your thing, and then I'll jump back in just when we start getting to that Q&A. Okay?
Amazing. Thank you so
Fantastic, bro.
much. So today I'm talking about Meta and TikTok winning ad formats. And I mean that these are hot off the press winning ad formats. I have updated this deck up until this morning, all last night, all yesterday, all the day before, with the top ad formats that are working right now. That's the thing with ad creatives. They fatigue so quickly. It's difficult to find those winning hooks that are going to perform. And especially since new hooks are coming out every single month, new formats, I wanted to get you guys the hot off the press. Here is what's working right now, June 6th. Let's go. So for those of you who may not be familiar with my work, like Evan said, I work with some of the top e-commerce brands on TikTok and Facebook. I am one of the top 5 TikTok creative exchange marketing partners. And I currently work with 50 of the top brands on Meta and TikTok to provide them with brand new ad creatives each week. So making hundreds of ads every single week for brands, you best believe I always have to be coming up with new ideas to stop the scroll and to keep people engaged. So I'm ready to share with you what's working right now and things that you need to test. So let's dive in. Let's review the top ad hooks and formats. All the examples I'm going to be sharing my own. Also, I'm going to be emailing out this deck. I know a lot of you guys last week were asking for a copy of the deck. I'm going to be emailing it out in my newsletter. So I'm going to put in the chat the details to sign up for that so that you can get a copy of the deck afterward. I also want to set the stage that these are ideas that you can execute on a very low budget. You do not need huge studios. You only need your phone and CapCut, the best editing app ever, and maybe 1 or 2 talents at most. So these are ones that are extremely low budget, easy to make. There's no reason that you can't, after this presentation, go and make these for yourself. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first one I wanted to share is what I talked about in our panel 2 weeks ago about Suno.com, Suno.com, which is a website that allows you to make custom jingles for your ads. I'm not sponsored. I just found this tool and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'm sure you guys all heard the awesome Suno song to cue up this motion presentation. So I wanted to show you an example of how to use this in an ad. And I'm not seeing a lot of brands do this on my feed yet. So hopefully after this presentation, I see a lot more of these. So let me go ahead and play this with sound on so you guys can hear it.
I'm tossing in bed, outside the beat, loop sides in, I'm counting sheep. City's loud, but my sleep's deep. With loop in place, it's good night, please. Loop's my ticket to dreamland need. Silence around, soft as velvet. Tune out the noise, skip the sleep cheap. With loop, my rest can't beat.
Now, how cool is that? That took literally 30 seconds to make in Suno. I just typed in loop, make a song about having trouble sleeping and earplugs helping. And it came up with that song with the lyrics, with the beat, put some B-roll behind it, and boom, that is an incredible ad. So make sure that you're testing out these custom jingles before this trend completely blows up. Next, I want to talk about text exchange. I even saw someone on the Q&A asking, how do you do these text exchange ads? So essentially how it works is go back to the beginning on this one. We are screen recording a text. We set up like a friend group to text it and we let them know like, hey, we're going to be recording an ad. So can you text me this? And so we take a screen recording of the text and then we just use a little zoom in to zoom into the rest of the ad. So starting with a text message has been such an effective way of stopping the scroll. This especially works well during sale periods. So think about Q4. Having the ads start with a text exchange of, hey girl, guess what? This website's having 60% off today. Oh, no way. Can you send me the link? And then going into the ad. That was one of our top formats for Q4 of 2023. And we're still seeing this text ad format work well, even for evergreen periods. I wanted to show you a second example of this, of saying like, hey, like what's your favorite go-to way of getting makeup? And then replying. And again, this is just using the screen record feature on an iPhone and then going into the B-roll of the regular ad. So here is a split test I would love for everyone to test. I would love for you to test starting the ad with the text message exchange versus just starting it normally, like starting it with the girl giving the testimonial. I think you'll be really surprised to see that just by having that simple text message exchange in the first 2 seconds is going to improve the performance of your ad. And of course, you're going to be analyzing these metrics through Motion because Motion is the best tool ever. I use it for all my clients, and it's how I analyze all of my creative tests. So there's an A/B test I would love everyone to execute on at the end of this session. Next, we have a photo flip. So essentially, we're starting the ad with still images, and we're doing a slideshow through the still images and then going to the video. So for 10-second ads, which is really what's working well on TikTok right now, is that 10 to 15-second range. It's really important to do mixed formats. So mixed formats means not only video, not only text, but mixing it all together. So we're starting with images and then the rest of the video is video. So that just is a bit more eye-catching. We say that mixing formats, stills, and videos within the same ad really helps with performance. I've also seen that using multiple talents, for example, we're showing multiple faces. We're showing at least 3 girls in this ad. It just helps people find someone that they can relate to. And we often see showing multiple faces in the ad performs better than just showing one. Here's another example of the photo flip. So this is an ad we did for Bumble, starting the ad with really cute photos of the couple together and then going into video clips and then screen recordings, green screens. You want to mix as much as you can to make the ad engaging. It's not just about video. I would say still images are something that's often neglected on TikTok. I don't see a lot of people doing this, but I can share with you from our data that mixing images and videos together is a winning format and one that we're doubling down on. So absolutely test this. Here's another really cool hook. So we're starting the hook with literally writing on the phone must-haves in like the paint feature on phone, and then going to the ad. So it's a little bit of inception. We got like a phone inside of a phone to make it more engaging. But starting with writing something, whether on a chalkboard, on a phone, on a whiteboard, we've started a lot of ad hooks with just physically writing something and then going into your normal problem solution testimonial ad. That is a really great hook to stop the scroll. It's just starting by writing. So that's another split test that I challenge you guys to do after this call, is to test first writing on the phone must-haves, or you could say kitchen must-haves, summer must-haves, business must-haves. You can, of course, customize this to your business. We did phone must-haves because we're talking about a Case-Lee power charger for a phone, and then test it against just starting the ad with a testimonial. I would say I'm kind of a data nerd myself. I love split testing, and that's really how you're going to get the best insights, is by isolating variables. That's something I harp on to my team a lot, is when we're doing A/B tests or making iterations for a client, you don't want to change too many variables at one time. The most important variable that you can change in your ad is the hook itself, because that's the first 2 seconds that people are seeing. So hook testing is a really strong part of my personal methodology, but you don't want to change the rest of the ad. You literally just want to change the hook. And that's how you're going to get insights into seeing what hooks are most effective for your brand. So I did want to point that out, that that's really the best way to test, is just by changing the first 2 seconds. So starting with phone must-haves for one, writing on it, and then just starting with a testimonial for the second ad, and test those against each other. Here's another really fun format that I've seen work well, and it's a fake FaceTime. So essentially we're having the talent record twice in 2 different outfits, and then we're superimposing the second footage onto the first, adding the text overlays, adding the buttons at the bottom as overlays to make it look like it's a FaceTime. And this is just an extremely engaging format. It's not very common, so it stops the scroll. And then we go into our regular footage like you would see in a normal ad of someone sleeping, using the product. And but it's just a really fun way to be like, hey, like I'm talking to a friend, but I think people think it's funny too, just because you're talking to yourself. It's clearly her in another outfit, so people just stop in and want to watch to see what's happening. So would absolutely recommend a FaceTime ad. And this is such a great format, especially you're a small team. Maybe you're just the founder and you want to start starring in your own ads, just to start pumping out creatives on a budget. This is something you can record yourself in 30 seconds, 2 different outfits, and edit together a FaceTime ad like this. This is absolutely able to be edited in CapCut with a little bit of technique. We personally like to use Adobe After Effects just because our editors find it easier, but you can absolutely edit something like this in CapCut and get pretty far. So you don't need a huge studio, don't need talent. You just need your iPhone and a really great idea like this FaceTime idea. So I hope you guys do this. So here's another concept that is very popular and still works well. I believe Marilla talked about it last time too, and it's this podcast concept. So of course, renting a podcast studio is very expensive, finding talent for it. What we like to do is we get one of our in-house talents, and she's just holding up a microphone, a fake microphone that I bought her on Amazon for $20 with her laptop in front of it, holding up the product. We superimpose this on-air graphic onto the video just to make it look like it's more of a podcast studio. I mean, a lot of podcasts nowadays are filmed in people's living rooms and are pretty casual. So it's not that far off from what real podcasts look like. And so starting out with the podcast intro, talking about why this is a great product, and then going into just the regular video shots of her using the product and giving a testimonial. So because people on TikTok and Reels like to consume podcast content, it fits into the content that they're already consuming and doesn't look like an ad. So you can definitely test this fake podcast concept without a huge budget, just an Amazon microphone like we did. Here's another concept that's working really well. I'm calling it the 2-person skit. So the first one I showed you was more like the FaceTime using one person, using a different outfit. But of course, if you can recruit your boyfriend or a very fun friend to star in a skit with you, we do see that skit style content doesn't look like an ad. It makes people want to watch to see what's happening. And it's just a bit more fun and engaging than your typical 3 reasons why or value prop driven ad. So skits are something that I love to implement for all of my clients, and one that's pretty easy to execute as well. I would say skits are also great for products where there isn't really that many amazing features. Like for this one, we're talking about a protein bar. Protein bars can only be so interesting, and there's so many protein bars out there where it's really hard to differentiate yourself. So just listing out value props and features and benefits isn't going to be the best approach for a pretty generic product. However, for a generic product, it's all about just getting people to stop the scroll and get to the website and do something a bit unique and interesting. So this one's, yes, we're mentioning that as 15 grams of protein and fiber and all this stuff, but it's really more about the comedy of the skit to get people's attention more than like, oh, I'm hungry. Like I was looking for a bar that would satisfy protein cravings. Like those ads are just kind of boring. Where if we're doing like a husband and wife fighting with each other over a bar, that's a lot more engaging than just listing out value propositions. So here's a format that's just been working forever, tried and true. It's the TikTok comment question overlay. So that is overlaying a comment onto the ad to start it to make it look like it's someone on TikTok that has commented on your video and you are replying to it. So although this format is extremely popular amongst advertisers, it's one that we still go to time and time again because it works so well. So don't be afraid to test the TikTok comment question overlay. As you can see, it can be such a simple question as, where is your bag from? And you can just enter any product into there and then go into the testimonial. Another thing I wanted to comment about this ad is that we're able to make it a bit more engaging by having the emojis fly in. I don't know if you guys could see that, but just little animations, adding emojis, still utilizing text that's organic to TikTok so that it looks organic is the best practice, but you can make it a little more engaging by adding those animated emojis. Next, I want to talk about scroll stopping first frame. So, as marketers, we're always talking about hooks, the first 2 seconds, but it's actually not even about the first 2 seconds. Most people aren't even making it to 2 seconds, which is just crazy. They're only seeing the thumbnail, the first frame, before they're deciding, is this ad worth watching? Am I interested? Or am I going to keep scrolling along? So, not only should you be thinking about the first 2 seconds, you should really be thinking about what is in that first frame. So for this one, of course, it's a purple toothpaste. So it really only makes sense to show something crazy like this with the text overlay, I look insane. And if someone's just really quickly flipping through their phone and seeing this as the first frame, that might get them to stop to watch an extra second. It's really all about earning seconds of viewership. If you can get someone to at least watch the thumbnail, then they're going to decide to watch for one more second. And then you have to earn the next second that they watch, and then the third. So I'm going to play this ad from the start so you can see here's the very first frame. We have the text overlays, I look insane, and then we show the product. So another great split test idea for you is first starting with something a little more crazy at the start as that first frame, or hook testing it against starting the ad right here, saying, I've seen this toothpaste go viral and you're holding the product. I would say that just from my own testing, that starting with something a little bit crazier in that first second, especially the thumbnail, and then introducing the product after is the best way to do it. You almost want to lead with a bit of a cliffhanger. Like, we don't mention what the product is or what's happening in that first second. We wait until second 2 to introduce the product. And so whenever you're thinking about creating hooks or ads, it's always important to think, what can I say at the beginning that's going to make someone watch for that extra second? And you're essentially don't want to give away what that product is in the first second because you want to intrigue them to keep watching. So I look insane. Then we go into the product, and then we talk about just trying the product, looking at the before and after. So it's all about gaining attention, especially every year that goes by on TikTok. Seems like attention spans keep getting shorter and shorter. So it's all about figuring out, how can I do something interesting in that first second to stop the scroll? Here's another fun one. This one is, I got dozens of DMs after posting this. So again, we're talking about cliffhangers. People are going to be like, what is she posting that is leading to getting dozens of DMs? I posted dozens of DMs after I posted this picture on my story. And then we go into, oh, we got these custom glass prints from Fracture. Here's how they look. So this is a fun one. This is one that you can record just by screen recording your camera app, as we did for that first frame here. This is just a screen recording, and then we added the text overlay of 3, 2, 1 onto it to make it look like she's taking a photo, and then utilizing the green screen effect so it's as if she's talking over an old photo that she took. And then we go into the problem solution. So this is a really fun one to execute. Definitely stops the scroll, and would highly recommend testing it. Next, we have POV unboxing. So this is another classic format, one that we've been using for years, but I included this because it continues to do well. So starting ad with the hook POV and then showing an unboxing experience. As you can see in the middle of the ad too, we try to make it a bit more engaging by flipping through the different outfits as fast as we can, essentially. So don't be afraid to make very short cuts, mixed formats, show the unboxing along with the try-on, and then going through it almost looks like it's a photo flip through because we're moving so fast on those video clips. And then, of course, ending the ad with a call to action with the website. That's really our best practice of putting the website on that last frame. Here's another great idea. This one is utilizing sticky notes. And so this is one of those ideas where it's like, okay, if you are on a budget, if you want to make an ad in less than 10 minutes, this is the ad format for you. Where you can see we're utilizing a mirror, just filming on a phone, writing a couple post-it notes, and then utilizing the product to make that transition to the next scene. And then we're just adding a very simple text overlay at the end with the website, which you could easily do in CapCut. So I definitely don't want to hear anyone saying like, oh, we don't have the budget to do this. We don't have an agency. We don't have a team. Like, there's no excuses to make a great ad like this. And it's often these type of ideas I see perform best in the ad account. It's not the ones with the craziest animations or the most talents. It's just about doing something a little bit engaging at the beginning. Like, people aren't expecting that you're going to be using a phone charger to switch to the next scene of the next post-it note. So doing something just a little bit unexpected, short, sweet, to the point. POV, your phone is dying. JK, here's the power pod. Short, sweet, get to the message. Don't be too complicated. And this is really what's working the best on TikTok and Meta. So highly encourage testing something simple like this.
Savannah, what the heck? First of all, like my own curiosity, like how do you do it? Like where does this come from? All of these ideas just to start placing them in. Like I don't even. I'll get to the Q&A in a second. I'm just like so amazed right now, more or less.
It all comes down to research. I do so much research about what other brands are doing. I think people get stuck trying to come up with a crazy, great idea on their own. And really, if you start consuming content on TikTok and Meta yourself, just going through your feed, go through the top ad library on TikTok, go through people's Facebook Meta ads library, you can pick and pull different elements. You're like, oh, that's a great hook. That's a great idea. Of course, presentations like this and my Twitter account and Motion always shares great and awesome ad examples. So don't feel like you have to be a creative genius. Just be able to recognize like what made you stop the scroll on that video you watched, and then be able to dissect those elements and then try it for yourself. So a lot of the stuff I do is not just me like sitting and pondering what's a great ad. It's looking at what other brands are doing and picking out the elements of why I think those are successful. So I think that's what makes a really great creative strategist, is being able to do that.
I love that so much. And Savannah's team, a couple people are saying the link isn't working. So let's just share that in the chat again whenever you get a chance. Make sure everything's okay so we can keep
got you guys.
well.
It's if you go to my website on the ad examples page, maybe, you guys are so funny. I think my website is down. You guys are crashing it.
Oh my God.
Y'all are crazy. My website's not working. You're breaking the stream. If you go to my website, if you go to my ad examples page, it's there. You can sign up for my newsletter. Maybe you'll know. I'm sure that when Motion emails out this replay, that they'll include the link to sign up. But y'all are crashing my website. I'm not used to this traffic. So we'll email out the link to get the deck if you signed up for this Motion webinar. Don't worry.
This community is the best, and I definitely want to get to their questions. So why don't we kick off with the most upvoted one that we see right now, yeah?
Awesome.
Let's do it. So Dylan asks, what are some mistakes that marketers commonly make when creating a hook?
I would say not having text on the screen. So one thing to keep in mind when making ads for both TikTok and Meta is that most people are viewing it with sound off. So always having some sort of text on the screen so that people have context to what they're watching. So always assume people are watching with sound off.
Amazing. Thanks, Dylan, for the question. And honestly, your response and like the previous response too brings us back to process in my mind. So Dima had a question that I saw. Let me see if I can find it. Shout out to Dima. Dima asks, how do you make those text message chain hooks, Savannah? Is there a program, process, etc.? So I feel like this ties not just to this one even hook, but like a bunch of different things in your process.
Yeah, so it all comes down to finding a friend to text you. And I just do a screen recording. I tell this friend like, hey, text me this because I want to use this for an ad. And I can change their contact photo and their name and clear the conversation so that it looks all clean before I start recording. So once I've changed their contact photo, I've cleared the conversation, I tell them what to text me, and then I will screen record on my iPhone of what's happening.
Amazing. And then kind of digging into that's the executional side. The other piece starts to become the research of what to text and how to say it, all that good stuff. So Ryan has a question, just going back to research. So Ryan asks, weekly or daily process for scanning TikTok/Meta for the latest trends?
Yes. So I like to use Foreplay to organize all of my ad creative examples and ideas that I want to execute on. It really comes down to just identifying like what are the top brands in your space. So if I'm working with a skincare brand, for instance, I'm going to be doing research on what are the top skincare brands for Gen Z, 18 to 24, if that's their target market, and then looking at the ad libraries of those competitive brands. That's a great place to start. And then just looking in general at what are the top spenders on Meta and TikTok. So for instance, like a Dr. Squatch, everyone sees their ads all the time. We can all assume they're probably spending a lot of money on ads. So what are the top people in the space in general using, and how can I use the ideas from like these mega brands into my own small brand?
I love that. And once you do find a brand where you're honed in, they're like a competitor or someone that you really respect. Is there anything in particular that you'll do to try and identify like what's working for them or not?
You know, it all comes down to the same elements. I'm looking at the hook, which is that first 2 seconds, and I'm trying to think to myself, why did I stop scrolling? Why did I think this is engaging? Is this something different that I haven't seen on my feed before? And then the talent has so much to do with it as well. The energy that the person brings on camera, how well they're able to deliver a testimonial. All talents are not created equal. I've been working with my team of creators. Some of the creators on my team have been with me for years now. So I've been able to train them on how to be the best creator, how to have the best lighting, how to be the most authentic. So finding those really great talents and creators to be the star of the ads, I can't I can't underestimate like how much that makes or breaks the ad performance.
And I always say this, just chat. Like I always say this whenever I'm talking to Savannah, but what's really impressive is a lot of those creators have transitioned into her creative strategist and like on the team kind of scripting out what should happen. So it's a very natural progression. And I think Savannah crushes it on actually training the team.
Definitely. That's really the best place to find creative strategists is someone that has been behind the camera and done it themselves. So when I first started making ads, I was starring in all my own ads. Like this is 2018, 2019. UGC was not even like a technical term back then. But I was just advertising, selling videos on Twitter of like, hey, send me your product. I'll make some videos for you. So you really just get a better understanding of what it takes to stop the scroll, to be engaging. And once you've done it yourself, it's so much easier to train someone else and then identify what makes a great creator. So highly recommend the UGC creator to creative strategist pipeline is so strong. And I think that is a really great next step.
Poetry snaps all around. I love it. I love it. And Savannah, the last follow-up question that I have, because I think it'd be helpful for our audience here, is in that idea of research. I know that you have a pretty structured like weekly regimen that you'll go through in order to produce ads. So I'm wondering if you can give people like a peek into what that process looks like that allows you to come up with these different hooks.
Absolutely. So motion is really the main tool that I use in analyzing ad creatives. And I have it set up for all my clients. So at the start of the week, I'm going through all of the creative tests that were launched the week before to see, okay, which hook worked better? Are there any top spenders that are coming up? Do we need to change the body of any ads? Is the hook good, but we need to change the body? So I would say it's a good 3 days at the beginning of the week that it takes to go through all 50 clients that I have and go through that data and see, okay, what did we test? What did we learn? And how can we improve? I think that's some of the biggest problems with marketers is that we launch so many tests and we're changing all these variables, but we're not setting back to analyze, are we just spinning our wheels here? Like, are we picking out the variables that are working well? So that's what I like to do is I like to say, okay, what specific variable did we change? What was the effect on that? And how can we double down those concepts? And what's great about being an agency and having access to 50 ad accounts is that I can use cross learnings. For instance, I can see over 10 ad accounts that like the post-it sticker type format is working. And I'm like, okay, great. If I get a new client, I'm going to do post-it note sticker format. So you get a unique vantage point when you do have access to so many ad accounts and motion reports to see if there's any trends that applies across everyone. And then also just seeing what specific to that ad account works. For instance, we might find in some motion reports that hooks for one client where they're starting with a talent talking to the screen, like immediately showing the face, we find that that's the variable that works well for that client. And then we know, okay, whenever we're starting an ad, we should start with an on-camera talent in that first 2 seconds. So finding variables like that that are specific to each client is really important. And then finding those overarching themes across lots of clients. Like, hey, like this trend is working for a bunch. Like, let's keep doing more. So that's a great part about having all those motion reports.
And I've always loved that you've had like the 3 days where it's like analysis and research to really get to that point.
100%.
Now, talking about those successful variables and successful ads. So Kyle has a question. I'll bring it up on stage here. Kyle asks, which is currently the most upvoted question, how many hooks should I test on a winning ad?
Yeah, so my typical process is I like to make 2 new hooks on a winning ad per month. So in any month, maybe I'm making for a client, I'm making 8 ads a month for them, for instance. 6 of them are net new concepts, new talents, new formats, but 2 of those will be ones where I'm making new hooks on an existing winner. So you can call that like an 80-20 split between net new concepts and testing new hooks. So, but you know, it's funny when you find that winning ad, sometimes you end up testing different hooks for months on end. So maybe in month 1, I'll test 2 new hooks on that winning ad. Maybe we don't even find that the new hooks were better than the original. So then we test 2 more and 2 more. And sometimes it's not just changing the hook. Sometimes it's about maybe we can keep the ad exactly the same. Like if we find a winning ad, but just try a new talent. So when it's a bit older, looks a bit different, have them do the exact same script read, exact same text overlays. And that's one way that you can get more life out of your winning ads is by just changing the talent or changing the length. Maybe we just chop out a few seconds here and there. So there's more tests that you can do than just hooks. But I would say maybe if you find a winner, I like to start with testing 2 new hooks. It's my go-to.
So actionable. And honestly, it bleeds nicely into the next question that Brooke asks.
Sweet.
So Brooke's asking, when you had mentioned just like changing the lengths of video, what length of time is ideal for video ads on various platforms?
Yeah, so I came up with this rule that actually reigns true across a lot of clients. The length of your ad should be the target demographic of your customer. So if you are targeting ages 25 to 34, then your ad should be 25 to 34 seconds long. It's crazy how accurate that is. I posted that on Twitter and LinkedIn. I was shocked. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. If you're targeting under 18, TikTokers, they have the attention span of a peanut. You got to have a 10-second ad, really short, really sweet, punchy, to the point. And then on the flip side, our wonderful 40 plus women on Facebook, that 40 to 60-year-old age range, which is such a gold mine to advertisers. I think that's one of the most underserved demographics, but they have money and they have time. They will watch a 60-second video of a demonstration, talking to the camera. They got more attention span. They got more time on their hands. They didn't grow up with TikTok. They're used to like watching long form content on TV and such. So that's why those like 30-minute infomercials on TV work so well that you see at 3 a.m. For that older demographic. So yeah, that's the way that I like to think about ad lengths.
My mind is blown. I love that so much. That's incredible. I've also realized that I think I fall into the 40 to 60-year-old age gap when I'm like thinking about what I watch.
Oh yeah.
Like the longer informational for sure. For sure. The next question we have here is from Joey. And Joey asks, thoughts on subtitles / captions not completely matching voiceovers?
Yeah, I rarely match the text on screen to the voiceover exactly. I like to only have text on screen for the most important points. Like for instance, if someone is listing out features and benefits, I only have like 3 words on the screen, just bullet pointing those main things. I'm not going to add in all those filler words as text overlays because I find that to be distracting to the main message of the ad. So I would recommend not having word for word captions as your text overlays, but rather just the most important points.
Joey, that was a really good question, by the way. I think that's not something everybody thinks about and keeps it quite generic. So Savannah, thanks for the answer as well. Then now the most upvoted question we have is related to platforms, more or less. So Andrea is asking, a lot of these examples are TikTok, which I love. However, do they work for Meta or YouTube too? If not, can Savannah share some differences, what we should think about as it relates to these platforms?
Totally. So I always preach that you should try to optimize your ads for TikTok first, even if you aren't advertising on TikTok. Believe it or not, the majority of my clients are spending on Meta way more than they are on TikTok. But these are the ads that are still working, are these TikTok style. It just looks more organic. Even though it's organic to TikTok, it still works really well on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also about saving time. So if you can design for TikTok first and you can repurpose it across Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, that's a big time saver. And not everyone has a huge time and budget to have assets that are customized towards each platform. So if you can go in optimizing for TikTok first and then utilizing that across everywhere else, that's going to be your best strategy. YouTube is a bit of a different beast just because all of the videos are 16 by 9 instead of 9 by 16. So that if you are going to be advertising on YouTube, then you have to think ahead in terms of filming. You want it to be filmed horizontal, not vertical. So YouTube videos are often more polished, bit not as like the lo-fi feel that we see work well on Meta and TikTok. But that's why all my examples are so TikTok focused, because that's what also works well on Meta and might as well save some time and money by not having to do duplicate work. I don't really see that there's any like Facebook specific best practices. Like if someone was like, oh, I'm only doing on Facebook, I would still go to that TikTok style first and foremost. There's not really any differences that I've seen that works better on Facebook but doesn't work on TikTok.
Andrea, let us know if that helps answer the question. That was beautiful in my opinion. And Savannah, the next question, so this one is all about like the platforms. The next one that I'm seeing here is all about brands. So the question from Olivia is, how can you make these types of hooks work for a more elevated / prestigious brand? But I think it applies in general. So based on the brand, how do you make this work essentially?
Definitely. We work with a lot of luxury brands, like high-end, like perfumes and handbags. And I think it all comes down to making sure that look and feel still feels elevated. So it could be the lighting, the setting, like a really beautiful bathroom setting, for instance, if we're doing a perfume ad, the talent, like clear skin, great lighting, the way she talks to the camera, how she's dressed. There's ways that you can still do UGC that feels more elevated. I will say that brands, especially these more established luxury prestige brands, are getting more into the UGC space. They're realizing that these polished commercials, although beautiful, isn't what's converting for the younger generation, especially on TikTok, even Meta, between like 18 and 30 years old. People want to see authentic testimonials. They don't want to be given like a beautiful TV ad. They want to hear from someone what their authentic experience is like, have it be aspirational. So by the look and feel of the creator, but still having that authentic feel that feels organic to TikTok and Meta. So especially in the last year or so, I've seen a lot of these prestigious brands kind of loosening up some brand guidelines to allow for more UGC content to complement their existing beautiful produced ads. So I find that these brands often have a mix. It's not just UGC. It's not just these like crazy scroll stopping hooks. Maybe they'll throw a bit more testimonial UGC style content in there, in addition to more elevated brand pieces that are produced in a studio.
Amazing. And everyone, this is just a 9-minute reminder here. So please be sure to upvote in the chat, upvote in the Q&A, or get your questions in there. And Savannah, we've talked about platforms. We've talked about the brands themselves. Now let's talk a little bit about like launching these ads and going live. And Sam has a question here that I can see. So Sam asks, do you think swapping out hooks is enough to work for top of funnel and retargeting? Or do they need unique concepts for different parts of the funnel, essentially?
Yeah, this is very product specific. For instance, if you are selling a t-shirt, people either like the look of the t-shirt or they don't. So in retargeting, you may just need to show them another model with the t-shirt on or the same ad. There's really no other angles to take. It's a pure aesthetic. Do you like it or not? But then there's other products that require more consideration, especially if you have an AOV of over $100, your product's more expensive. People have different challenges. They're going to be like, oh, is the price too much? Is it worth it? What's the quality like? And that's where top of the funnel can be more about awareness, sharing the features and benefits, where retargeting can be tackling those specific pain points. Like, is the price worth it? What are the guarantees on this? What are like PR, customer testimonials? So it depends on the product. The price of the product definitely is the main driver between whether you should just be swapping hooks like you recommended. I think swapping hooks is great for top of the funnel and even retargeting. But if it's a more expensive product, you might need to take some different angles in retargeting to really hit on those pain points.
I think B2B advertisers should also be listening to that part too. Like that's really relevant in that world for sure.
Totally.
So Savannah, you've talked a ton about like the talent that's being used in these different ads that you're creating, as well as like your roster of great talent. So a question that I saw here from Jenna, I just got to find it. There it is how do you source good talent on your end to build these relationships?
Definitely. I find all my talent pretty much from TikTok, searching through hashtags on the For You page, people that don't have big following. So I like to find people under 10,000 followers, but they understand how to talk to the camera. They're engaging to listen to. I'm very big on finding people with great energy, someone that it's worth listening to them, that they're not boring. They just have that natural excitement that makes you want to listen. And that's something that you can't teach. So finding those skills that are hard to teach, like that on-camera personality, and then secondary, like the lighting that they use. What's their setting? Like if I'm looking for a creator for a kitchen, like cooking brand, I'm going to look for people that have really aesthetic kitchens and like great lighting in there. So those are the type of creators I look for, smaller, but have those skills that I think are trainable. And then when I work with creators, I have a creator team of 40 women now. Actually, about like 10 men on my team now too, although we mostly serve advertisers targeting women. Every week, I'm giving them new ads to shoot, and I'm building relationships that I can give them.
Oh, just me, or did we lose Savannah for a little bit?
Feedback every day. They start to learn. Here, am I still here for everyone? I'm just chatting away. Oh, I'm frozen. Someone says still good. Someone says frozen. All right, I'm going to still talk because I still see myself. So
we got you back,
It's
Savannah.
all
We
about
got you back
giving
now.
feedback to the creators and giving feedback and helping them improve every week. And then they start learning the styles and what they need to do. So that's how I've trained such a successful creator team.
Amazing. Okay, in these last 5 minutes, I'm going to try my best to find a couple hot takes just to see like if it's worth chatting about. I think the first one that comes to mind for me, and it might not be a hot take, is from Jude. So Jude asks, any hooks you think are oversaturated or overused?
Yes, of course. Things TikTok made me buy. That is one that it's a classic. It has worked so well for us for so long, and we still throw it in every once in a while because it's overused because it worked so well for so many brands for so long. So that's one that I think is a bit overdone. One that I don't go to as often. 3 reasons why I think is a great hook, but extremely popular. 3 reasons why you should buy this. And then lastly, just anything that mentions like I'm obsessed with it. Like I'm literally obsessed with blah, blah, blah. I think people are a bit tired of hearing that. Like, oh, game changer. I saw that in the chat too. Yes, this is a game changer. I'm literally obsessed. Those are words I try to avoid just because they're so overdone. So I try to find different ways to describe the product.
Oh, that's so funny. The next question I see is from Kyle. So you've shown some absolutely incredible hook ideas that people can draw inspiration from. Just curious from your end, which ones are your top 3 favorites?
Ooh, it's hard. I would say I love the text message exchange hook that I started with. That was one, especially in Q4, that really crushed across so many brands, starting with that screen recording of texting a friend, like, hey, did you know this was on sale? That was the first year that we tested that type of ad, and it just blew up for so many brands that we just doubled, tripled down on it. And now, like I mentioned, we're testing those for evergreen as well. So the text message exchange, really solid. The TikTok comment question overlay. I don't know if I would categorize that as overused or oversaturated, maybe getting there, but it still works so well that whenever I'm starting with a new brand, that's definitely one of the hooks that I always want to do in that first month, is doing that TikTok comment question overlay over the video. So that's one that I would highly recommend. And then lastly, I would just say, like, anything that's scroll stopping. So like I mentioned, and it's going to be different for every brand. Like the one where I mentioned where she has like the purple toothpaste on, or maybe we're like smashing something in the beginning, or like a tube is exploding of toothpaste, or like something's on fire. Like we've lit like Post-it notes on fire and stuff. Running over something, just something a bit extreme, over exaggerated, weird in that first second is still really effective, although popular.
Amazing. Okay. So that's Savannah's top three. I feel like we need everyone's top three based on what Savannah
Yes,
talked
please
about.
put them
So
in the
throw it in the
chat.
chat. Yeah, for sure. Throw it in the chat on what everyone thinks. The last question, I'm thinking we can just make a little bit more actionable for people. So Charlotte had a question of what tools do you use for script writing? And I'm wondering if you can even expand. So tooling wise, what do you think is a good tool set for people out there for them to be able to succeed, especially at scale?
Sure. So I like using Google Docs to write scripts, kind of boring. And then I like to also use like some AI tools to help with script writing. I've mentioned Notion, like motion but with an N, as one that has a nice script writing tool. And the TikTok Creative Center also has a script writing tool. I don't love AI scripts. I really find that sometimes just writing from the heart, as cheesy as it sounds, writing from the human brain usually gets the best scripts. If you're going to use an AI tool, then make sure that you're editing it to make it sound more human. Another thing with my creator team, especially it's the ones I've been working with for months or years on end, I find that if I can just give them the top value props of the product and the hook that I want them to use, I think it's important to always give the talent the hook, because it takes the creative strategist learning the data, going through motion and seeing like what hooks are working. So giving them the hook and then a few main value props and having the talent talk from just like their personal experience and like the words that they use, that often comes back with the best testimonial clips. So when working with a talent you've never worked with before or still new to you, I would highly recommend giving them a word for word script, just so you get back the content that you think is going to be usable and what you need. But as trust is built and the creator starts to learn your brand more and you get more of a rapport with them, that's really where I see sometimes the best content is when I can just give them the script and the top value props, and then they kind of make it their own. They're utilizing their own creativity, their own words. And even if it's just them rambling to the camera, I can cut that into a 30-second ad, taking out the best parts. So it's not always a word for word script. But yeah, in terms of tools, AI can get you started, but I wouldn't recommend just copying and pasting AI script and sending it to a creator because it's going to sound very robotic.
I think that's a perfect way to end it, because ultimately, I think everything you've mentioned starts with being human first and foremost. So it's nice to come full circle here. Savannah, I feel like you got to look at the chat after for sure. People had so many good ideas on like what their favorites were. I heard a rumor. Some people said 3 reasons why, and some people said don't do 3 reasons why. So there's some good banter going back and
Totally.
forth. But Savannah, any final words that you want to leave with the people?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for coming, everyone. Love the support, the community that we have for Motion, and also the people that follow me. Like I said, I'm going to be sending out the deck. So if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, I just posted that in the chat. Hopefully my website's not crashing anymore. So just copy and paste that link if we're having issues. But I promise send out the deck. I only had a couple more examples to go through. You guys already got the meat and potatoes there. And then Motion is going to be posting the video replay to their YouTube channel. I'm sure they'll be sending out an email to all y'all. So you won't miss out on that. And then if I missed your questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact form on my website. Would love to get in touch if you had any burning questions or you want to work together on making ad creatives. Would love to hear from you.
Let's throw some love in the chat, y'all. I know it's already coming, but we got to keep letting it rain in. It's been absolutely incredible. Savannah, you came in, absolutely smashed it. Audience, chat, you're the best. Like, we see it already. Around the world, global community, your eyes and ears are greatly appreciated. Savannah did a lot of mentioning of motion throughout the chat. So I'm actually going to use the last 5 minutes on my end. For those who want to hang out, feel free to. If not, don't worry, where I'm actually going to dive into a couple motion reports to help showcase a lot of what Savannah was mentioning today. But Savannah, you're the best. Thank you so much. This is absolutely incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone. And I hope everyone sticks around and learn more about motion. It's the only tool I use for creative reporting and analysis. And Evan really highlights the best ways to use the tool. So I'm definitely be sticking around for that. I hope you guys do as well.
So that was, you know what it is, everybody. Show love in the chat to Savannah too. She's going to be hanging out, seeing everything that's going on. So share your thoughts, please, please, please. Cool. All right. So people are dropping off. It's the real ones who are still out here. So let's make it happen. I'm joking. I'm joking. But today, what we're going to start diving into is everything hook related. So Savannah spoke about how do I actually look at hook performance to then inform what we can do moving forward. So on my end, let me just go ahead and share my screen really quickly. If perfect. Just to confirm in the chat, can everybody see the bar chart on my screen? Okay. Come close to the mic. I need ASMR. Is that better, y'all? Cool. There we go. ASMR version. Everybody, welcome to the Motion Hangout. We're here to talk all about, I'm stopping this. I don't have this in my soul. So here, like I mentioned, we're all here to talk about just the hooks and analyzing what's going on. So basically today, I'm going to focus on what we can do with the data to ultimately action moving forward. But if anyone is interested in learning more, let's set up some time, talk about the pain points that you're facing and how we can help ultimately solve those. Okay. So first and foremost, the report that I'm in right here is super visual. You can see the exact creative, so image or video without any issues. And what you're ultimately doing is you're comparing a couple metrics that you're going to care about quite a bit. In my case, because we are talking about hooks, I am looking at that thumb stop ratio. But in your world, if you care about your spends and everything else, you can easily go ahead and adjust this. So let's dive into the example here. So this is my video iteration report. And iteration means how do we make small changes to the existing assets rather than just doing net new all the time. And to tell this story, what I like to highlight is we focus on the primary metric being thumb stop ratio and then comparing that to our conversion rate that's ultimately down here. Now, why this is super helpful to see this way is ultimately for anyone who's a media buying fanatic in the room, you're familiar with these metrics. I know you are. But the other thing is for it's not just you who's involved in this process. There are creative teams, there are creative strategists, there is management layers who want to know what's going on and how we're going to make money by leveraging creative decisions. So, to highlight how Savannah likes to be able to make some of these decisions, I like to focus on the low-hanging fruit. So to tell that story, I just want to look at this one right down here, y'all, okay? So what we're seeing with this creative right down here is a much lower thumb stop ratio in comparison to the rest of the account, but a much higher conversion rate in comparison to the rest of the account. So what does that tell us? That tells us that people aren't really stopping their scrolls, but those who are stopping are buying at the end of the day. So when I see something like this, I can now set a goal with our creative team, our external agencies, and everyone else who's involved. And that goal is how do we increase our thumb stop ratio so more people stop their scrolls, but maintain a similar conversion rate because the story is working so well. So that means my ask for the creative team becomes simple. For this creative right down here, let's do 2 new versions where all we're doing is swapping out the first 3 seconds of that video. And then your creative team might be wondering, well, what does that 3 seconds need to look like? We can, of course, let them cook it up, come up with those ideas. But more importantly, where I want to draw everyone's attention to is to the far left, right up here. What we can see with this creative is that we're already doing a great job at getting people to stop their scrolls as well as getting them to buy. So that means what we can do is to swap the first 3 seconds is we can just say, let's take inspiration from this. So it's either a mashup and we combine it, or so we just evolve the story in a very similar way. So I know that's a lot of words in there, but those are ways we can leverage the data to identify low-hanging fruit and ultimately inform the type of decisions that we can make moving forward. Okay? Fantastic. So now, everybody, as I go back to my ASMR version, because we get nice and close here, we have 600 people. We now all speak this language. You know what I mean? But the thing is like I mentioned earlier, there's not a lot of people in our organizations who also speak this. So it becomes, how do we make sure that we action upon this data as we move forward? So to end this example, what I actually want to do is I want to isolate down the 2 creatives that I was just showcasing to you all, okay? So that means I literally have them side by side like so. From here, I'll move over to our card view, and this is nice and creative driven. No one's worried about being overwhelmed by data, and it's very simple on what you can see here. And then the final thing that I need to do, that's easy. I just need to share it off. So I'm going to say take first 3 seconds from X and apply to Y and copy this link. Once I copy this link, it becomes completely shareable. So that means Slack channel, Asana board, creative brief, whatever it might be, doesn't matter. Because whoever gets it can see this link exactly this way with the commentary that you've added. And with that commentary, it's nice and simple. It's like, with this creative, I'm going to play it, I'm going to download it, and I'm going to add some comments. But ultimately, that's how we're going from the data side to the workflow side to, most importantly, next steps in the grand scheme of things. So that's an example of how this story comes to life in a very basic way when we talk about hooks. But if you're interested in learning more, I'm going to throw a quick poll up really, really quickly so we can contact you if needed. Because basically, that's just the tip of the iceberg, y'all. Like, we can start getting into a bunch of different things. We can talk about, as I bring up the poll now, so please vote. Greatly appreciate it. But we can get into a bunch of things. Like, we can get into analyzing your influencer and UGC creator performance. We can talk about that first frame retention that Savannah was talking about and Marilla had mentioned on our last session. So there's a lot of different data points you can use to inform the decisions that you're ultimately making moving forward. Fantastic. Okay, so 530 people still hanging out. I'm going to check the chat to see if we have any questions coming through. Honestly, I hope I have some good feedback on my ASMR voice. Like, I hope that can be like a new career for me. So if I get some feedback, I'd love that. So if I scroll on up to the top, well, haven't I been using motion? Have to jump on. Let us know. Get the votes in. We'll get back to you, or feel free to book a demo right at the top. What else we got? Britt says I need more vocal fry. Okay. I got you. So this is how we're going to be able to go to the meditations of all of this. Something along those lines. I think there was a question. You all keep like spamming the chat, so I can't scroll up and see the questions. So I'm struggling a little bit. Sorry, everybody. Okay, how about I do this? Everybody, greatly appreciated. The time has been absolutely incredible. You know the vibes. We hang out all the time. You see that book a demo option. You filled out the polls. We're going to get back to you, or feel free to book a demo without any issues. Okay? But I'm excited. I'm super excited, like Savannah said, to make this come to life for y'all. Amazing, everybody. This has been a blast. If any other questions come up, Savannah's the best. You already know the recording's going out, and she's in the chat, so hit her up, or Twitter, on LinkedIn, whatever it might be. And it's been a pleasure from my end. I appreciate your eyes and ears. Feel free to connect with me as well. And until the next one, y'all, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take care.
It's time to ship more winning creative with Motion's creative analytics platform that helps you scale winners into unicorns and helps you figure out where your ads might need just a little more help. Join over 2,100 teams shipping winning ads with Motion like Vuori, True Classic, HexClad, and more. Get a free VIP tour today, and you can see how Motion can help your creative strategists and your media buyers speak the same language.